What's up, YouTube family? This is Elder Stacey Zanders coming to you with another video. Today we're going to be dealing with black families and poverty under George Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. We're going to be looking at some of these statistics. So let's get right into it. Okay, black families and poverty from 2005 and 2018 from Bush, Obama, and Trump. The Great Recession of 2008 caused an increase in the poverty rate among African American families from its lowest point in 2008 up to over 24% in just 4 years. Black family poverty rates improved or lowered after 2012 during the Obama administration and continued to improve during the beginning of the Trump administration. So let's take a look at the chart. We have here the Great Recession of 2008. As you see here, when GW came into office, the poverty rate for black families was 22.8%. And because of some of the Republican policies, that poverty rate began to come down. In 2008, I never will forget when we had that housing bubble, the markets began to tank and crash. And of course, not only black families, all families in the United States or around the world was affected by this. So at 20.8%, it began to rise once the recession took place. And you can see for the next 4 years, poverty rates increased in the black community up to its peak at 24.2% in 2012 of the Obama administration. And because of some of the policies, it was a hard road to hoe for him to get the stimulus monies to start building America infrastructure to put money back into the economy. Never forget Mitch McConnell, those people. Mitch McConnell made a determination that he was going to be make sure he's a one-term president. And it's a shame that you have a house divided, working against itself. Here are all of these people, because of this housing bubble, was living in poverty, but they just wanted to make sure that they stayed in power. But because it pushed through and it took place and happened, you began to see that the poverty rates in 2012 began to come down and decline up until Trump came into office. When he came into turn, you can see that during that first year of his administration, that the poverty rates still began to come down. And then we also have to consider that according to the U.S. Census Bureau study, 23% of all African American men, women, and children live below the poverty level, compared to just 13% of all Americans. Even higher percentage of 33% black children live in poverty, compared to 18% of all children in America. The poverty rate for working age African American is just under 20%, ages between 18 and 64 years old. Poverty rates for black families vary based on the family type. While just under 19% of all black families live below the poverty level, only 7% of black married couple families live in poverty, which is considerably lower than the 31% of black families headed to by single women who live below the poverty line. The highest poverty rates are 39% of black families with children, which are headed by single black women. This is a significant, considering more than half, or 55% of all black families with children are headed by single women. But let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the chart here. Let's see what we have here. Black poverty rates by family type compared to all America. Blue is black, the gray shaded is all American. Percentage of families in poverty. 18.5% compared to 9.3% of all Americans. With children under the age of 18, 26% opposed to 15%. Married couples and families, 6.7%, and 4.7%. With children under 18, is 8.7% and 6.4%. Female with no spouse, 30.6% are living in poverty, compared to all Americans, 25.7%. And with children under 18 is all practically 40% to 35%. It says in the African American community, these statistics are very good, because we need to begin a process of focusing on the numbers. We need to stop going off of feelings, emotions, what we think, what we feel, and start looking at the data, because the data tells an awesome truth. I like what Jay-Z said. He said, men lie, women lie. These numbers don't lie. So we can turn we have to start with education. We have to begin to prepare a process of teaching our generations that's coming in behind us to help lift them up out of poverty with job skills training, entrepreneurial training, education, and teaching them that when we educate ourselves, we'll lift ourselves out of poverty. One way to get out of poverty is simply by getting a degree, getting a trade, getting a skill that in itself will lift you out of poverty. And then we have to be more socially responsible when it comes to having children. The best way to have children is in a marriage where you have both father and mother, but we have one household income with multiple children. It ushers the single women and the children into poverty. So we have to also as a community become more responsible when it comes to all these myriad factors that could be working against us. All right, let's look at individuals compared to all of America. All right, people in poverty. You have 22.5% of blacks versus 13.1% of all Americans. So this has a lot to do, I think, with education. It has a lot to do with the family structures and dynamics. We have to change some things in order for these numbers to begin to improve. 22.5% of individuals in America that are black are in poverty compared to 13.1%. We're almost twice as high as all of America. Under 18, 32.5%. Under 18 are in poverty opposed to 18% of all America. Almost twice as high there. We got to go back and look at the family dynamics in our community. These numbers speak a really harsh truth. Forget about what you think, forget about what you feel when you're faced with facts. These numbers are facts, they're not lying. All right, 18 years and older, 19.1% of 18-year-old and older compared to 11.7% of all Americans. Now between the ages of 18 and 64, we have 19.5% that are in poverty compared to 12.3% of all Americans. Why is that? All right, at 65 years and older, 17% of blacks are in poverty compared to 9.4% that are in poverty. Because we have a lot of African Americans talk about that number when it comes to retirement. While you are young, I said this in another video, that a thought that I had in my mind when I was younger, either I pay the price, do what I have to do when I'm young, pay the price now by working hard, starting a business, doing whatever I got to do, educate myself, whatever I needed to do. Pay the price now so I can play a little bit in life later. But many of us, we are playing while we are young, and we are paying a financial price later on. So much so that a lot of people either don't have Social Security or are getting so little in Social Security that you are ushered right into these super poverty levels. And that's why we have a lot of our senior citizens, 65 years old or older, 17% of them are in poverty compared to 9.4%. People in families, we have here 19.8% and 10.3% that are in poverty. So we have to begin. It won't start with the current generation of the 65-year-olds or older, but between this age group from 18 on, we need to make some changes, and even need to start sooner than that. We need to start preparing our young people when they're small children, giving them positive words of affirmation, telling them that they can do and become anything that they want, think, or desire to become, and steer them in a direction. Our churches, black churches, have to take a greater responsibility and a role in help shaping our leaders for tomorrow, getting people out of poverty. We need to look at the whole individual, and a lot of instances, and be concerned not only about their soul salvation, but about their financial well-being as well. A holistic ministries. So just in total, we got to come together, and we can turn this around. I know we can do it, but these numbers, we got to begin to reckon with the fact that these numbers are speaking a hard truth, and we need to make some serious changes when we see this. We'll get back to the chart in just a second, but the history of poverty and black American families. The Census Bureau records historical poverty data among American families using its current population survey and annual social and economic supplements chart. In 1967, about 1/3 or 33.9% of all black families lived below the poverty level, compared to only 11% of all families in America. By 1990, the disparity gap between the two remained virtually the same, despite a slight increase in the overall poverty rate for both population groups. During the decade of the 90s, while the nation was experiencing an economic boom, the poverty rate of Black Americans dropped from 29% in 1990 to 19% in 2000, virtually cutting the disparity in half. The economic downturn in the decade of 2000 and 2010 caused the increase of the Black family poverty rate to 24%. Since 2010, the Black family poverty rate began to decrease slightly, reaching 23% in 2014. However, the disparity has remained relatively unchanged since 2000. In 1967, more than half, or 56% of Black families headed by a single woman lived below the national poverty level, compared to 33% of all families. In America, headed by the single woman during the decade of the 90s, the poverty rate of the families headed by single Black mothers dropped from 48% in 1990 to its lowest point at 34% in 2000. The economic downturn since 2010, the Black family poverty rate decreased slightly to 37% by 2014. Although the actual disparity between Black single mother families and all single mother families has always been lower than that the family of all types, with adjustments, increases and decreases, and the disparity over the decades have been fair. Now let's take a look at the final chart here about the history of poverty in Black America. This is from 67 to 2014, which is the latest statistics that we have. On the next census to come out another year or so, we'll have some updated numbers here. But the history of Black families from 1967, 33.9%. We can see by 2014, we have dropped a great deal to 22.9%, just about 11% drop in a Black poverty rate. All right, compared to all families in America in 67, it was 11.4%, and they basically stayed steady as she go. And to 2014, 11.6% poverty rate for all of those families in America. So the families up here includes families that have a mother and a father. This is what these numbers have there. But you can see there have been some swings in the Black community with poverty rates, discrimination, things of that nature, of course, and it's almost par for the course in the other category. So, but we look down here at this particular chart here, Black families with single females versus all families with single females. From 1967 was 56.3%, but you can see that there, it steadily went down through the years. This was right around 2000, and then by 2014, from 56.3% to 37.2% for single family households. That's still substantially higher, which means that when we look at the chart here, single parent families, two parent family, you do better with someone financially. All right, compared to all families, just the same as this one, almost par for the course. They had a dip back in 2000 down to 25%, so do we here, and so do we did there. But 33.3%, pretty much par for the course. 30.6%, the poverty rate for all families have come down. But like I'm saying, I'm gonna say this. First of all, go to blackdemographics.com. You can see this information for yourself. It's very important for us to understand the statistics. Look at the numbers, understand the numbers, and it can greatly help our community if we can pull together and begin in each individual, to each one reach one, starting your own home, starting your own family, and start the process of re-educating our children so that in generations to come, we can turn the tide of this down and really get these numbers down into the single digits. We can do that, but it's gonna take some work on our behalf to get that done. Hey, this is Elder Stacey Zanders. I appreciate every one of you. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Until the next time, as always, God bless you.